Hey guys, it's Krystal Lee Lucier here, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Krystal Lee Moore. This is Realtor Life, and I'm so excited about our guests today. We're welcoming back Ron James, Coach Ron. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And thank you. And we have Rebecca Mountain, a high performance coach. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hello.
And
Hi, thanks for having me. It's great.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. So, Ron and Rebecca have been working together on something very cool. Ron introduced me to it a little bit after our last interview. If you got a chance to hear it, if you didn't, shameless plug, go back and listen to it. Lots of fun stuff. But today we're talking about some really exciting things for, I'd say, realtors will benefit from it, but entrepreneurs in general, this is a performance program, and I'm so excited to learn more. I have the benefit of having a tiny preview in my combo with Ron a few weeks ago, but I've kept most of my learning to today, so I'm so excited. So, okay, so Rebecca, the methodology of this is called the Mountain Method. Can you walk
That's
us
right.
through just a tiny summary and then maybe a background of how this all came about?
Sure. So the mountain method, I know it sounds funny because it is my last name, which is handy, but
Mm.
it's actually not what it's based on. The premise behind the model is that we all climb mountains throughout our lives. Like we learn to ride a bike, we learn to swim, we break up, our heart is shattered, but we find love again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So through life, it's all the little mountains that we climb. But as we get older, we start to slow down. We start to kind of pile up some of our experiences and we start to hold back. Oh, that hurt me before, so I'm not going to do that again. We start creating these catastrophizing ideas about what could happen if I picked up a phone and called somebody, and I'm going to sound salesy or pitchy, or I haven't talked to them in a while and they're going to think, all this terrible stuff.
Yeah.
So we don't pick up the phone, and we start taking on too much work. So basically, we start carrying these burdens. So instead of climbing these mountain from base camp to summit, we go from base camp to about halfway up and then we make a turn and we do enough. We do good enough. It's going to be okay. It's my most least favorite word is an F word. Fine.
Uh,
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Right. And
yep.
so, but there's no joy in fine and there's no joy in good enough because we know that we have so much more in us.
Yep.
But over the past 6 years, I've been studying that particular question. Why is it that people know what they should be doing, but they don't do it? The
Yes.
mountain methodology actually is a culmination. I've written 3 books. I've spoken on stage to thousands of people. I've got a coaching program. I've had multiple different versions of it over the years, all striving to get to the root of how do we break people from that burden and
Yep.
allow them to have that freedom to climb not only whatever mountains in front of them, whether it's I want more time, I want to make more money, I want better relationships, I want to retire in the Bahamas, like whatever you want. I want people to scale that one, but then have a repeatable methodology that they could then scale the next one and the next one and the next one
Yes.
and never default to fine or good enough ever again.
That's amazing. I love that. And I will say, that philosophy of not reinventing the wheel and having that blueprint, actually, Coach Ron helped me with that. I've moved, this is my third city. I'm in London, Ontario. And I remember talking with him and saying, like, well, this is ridiculous. Like now I'm starting all over again. And I was kind of having a pity party moment. And he was like, what are you talking about? You've done this. You don't even have the blueprint. You have the Krystal Lee Moore blueprint. Like you have exactly what you need to do. And so
Mhm.
I tell people that all the time. So I love that this is like a program that says like, here, we're going to show you how to do it. And then you can take it with you as lifes, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. Whatever you want to achieve, like whatever you want to achieve in the future, if
yeah,
you apply the stages that we've earmarked in this model,
yeah.
then you can actually get there. And it's actually really neat because it's also based on science. I'm a big geek. So at the beginning of the program, you take an assessment on all of the 12 stages and you get a score,
Ooh,
right? So you can identify clearly in all these areas, where am I struggling the most? And where you're
yes,
struggling, that's the wall. that's the turn that you hit. And so you can, and everyone's got a different point
Yeah.
that is going to be holding them back, right? For some people, it's their thoughts, their self-sabotaging thoughts. For others, their thoughts are cool, but they're like spaghetti on a wall on what they're doing, or their habits are just garbage.
Yeah.
And so right from the get-go, you can see, okay, so now I know what is making me make that turn instead of making me continue the climb. You go through the program, you take the assessment at the end, and you can see the actual progress you have made in
Ooh,
100 days. And that assessment stays live forever. So you can continue, and I encourage people to retake it
yeah.
every 3 months as they continue to move forward. So
That
obviously
is a
you
great,
can retake the
yeah.
program anytime. Yeah.
No, that's
I use it for
fantastic.
my private coaching.
Very nice. Yeah, so I guess so many questions. So I love this. And you mentioned the 100 days. So I'm gonna put a pin in that for 1 second because I want us to go into where does that 100 days come from? But I do love that you take it and you keep taking it. Because I have said there's like I've been doing this for 15 years, not the podcast. The podcast has only been 4 years, but I've been a realtor for 15 years. And I do feel newbie Krystal and today Krystal are have different skills and different strengths. Um, and I get pushback on it because, but I like that you redo it because you do want to see your progress, right? Like, where have I improved? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Okay, so before we go into the actual program, unless this uncovers, we're all discovering together. Coach Ron, how did you meet Rebecca? Like, where did you even
So
hear about Rebecca?
Rebecca she used to own a social media agency, a very lucrative one, both for her clients and for her business. So we had known each other for about 15 years. And then through a mutual friend, when I was transitioning between coaching companies, Rebecca and I reconnected at this point. And it was an interesting conversation because I'm thinking I'm coming in for a coaching job and she said, I don't really want you to coach. I want you to facilitate,
Mm,
which was new because it meant, Ron, you got to shut up. You got to get the best of other people to come out
yep,
first. And although, I still have my elbows up as I go through it at this point, in Rebecca's PMC program, it is me making sure that the best of everybody in that group format
right.
gets heard, gets seen, etc.
Okay.
So um, now that we've been connected through that program, um, Rebecca said, I'd really like you to kind of take some of these clients one on one
Love
at this
this.
point, but you need my method, you need my thinking and
Yep.
their background and their scores, these survey scores, and
Yes.
know how to read them and what they mean. Because
100%.
typically in business, it's I've done X amount of deals or transactions, I've made this much money, that's my benchmark of success. But that's their limitation. So in this case, when 100 days to peak performance came available, Rebecca said, this is the training. This is the on-the-job stuff I need you to learn.
Perfect.
And I've taken, as we all have on this call, lots of training. Like we've spent lots of money in
Oh
lots
my.
of cities taking training. But I will tell you, when something kind of pops me open, so even when I'm not doing it, not in
Yeah.
my official capacity, I'm still thinking about it and how to improve it and how to
Hmm.
get another layer out of it and how to get deeper into somebody's psyche and soul so that they get a different awareness of their ability, their capabilities,
Yes.
right? This is when I knew I was onto something that, was going to be for me. My lovely wife asked me, she said, okay, money's no object. You can retire tomorrow. Would you still do it? I'm like, 100%. I've been a
That's
realtor
the
for
key.
44 years
Yep.
and it's my turn to give back. And I
Yes.
can't think of anything better than to give you this baseline of how to think, how to process, and climb every mountain that you want to climb.
I love this. I love this. Well, and that's the th I think we're very much in an era right now. A lot of people are finding that like what makes me passionate, what makes me joyful. And I find that the results coming from that for what people are doing, you don't see a lot of people just phoning it in for long. Anyway, they will transition. Okay, so Ron told us the name of it. So 100 Days to Peak Performance. Rebecca, what is that?
So the 100 Days to Peak Performance is a weekly program that spans 14 weeks.
Okay.
So there's two bookend sessions, a getting started where you do your assessment, we explain the results, and you choose the mountain you're going to climb. Because
Ooh,
if your brain, operates in vagaries, right? I want to be rich, I want to have more time, it actually doesn't fire in the areas of commitment
right.
and movement and motivation. So you don't do anything. So what I do is I force people at the beginning to be really I want to make more money. How much more money? And what are you going to do with that money? Now dream about having that money and really see that. So we get that whole
Yes.
visualization at the beginning, which locks in the meaningfulness. And then for the next 12 sessions, we go through every single stage of the methodology. So there's three main parts. The first one is aligned beliefs, which is comprised of emotional resilience.
Okay.
So that's not being emotional, but it's not shutting emotions, right? So people who have are prone to panic attacks or some version of that.
Yeah.
That's just emotions that you haven't worked on because you just
Yeah.
don't look at them. But that is it's the number one limitation. If you look at the trillionaires and billionaires out there, they will tell you emotional regulation is the
It's
foundation for their
everything.
success.
Yes. Perfect. Okay.
100%. So that's number one. That's like right out of the gates.
Okay.
And then
Base
we go
camp.
through.
A1.
So
Okay.
right, exactly. Yeah. Base camp was actually what we call the first one where you define your mountain and go through the assessment.
Okay.
The first full like methodology session is emotional resilience. And then we talk about your thoughts, your stories, and assumptions. So then we get into
Okay.
how we think.
Yes.
Because the formula for doing work is actually very simple. What you think and what you feel become what you do. So that's why
Nice.
there's sessions
Okay.
1 and 2. So right out of the gates, people feel different, they think different, they feel lighter, they have clarity. Top producers are back in the game.
Yes.
Newbies feel renewed confidence, and the mid-level people can now actually see themselves at the next level. And that's by session 3, right? The initial
Cute.
and then
Okay.
the two major core sessions. And then the third session for that first pillar is called clarifying vision and setting boundaries for all the important reasons, because you need to be able to be really strong in yourself, not
Yes.
worried about what other people are doing and not letting people trample all over you. You have to
So
actually say,
hard
though,
today.
this is
Yeah.
what makes me happy. Yeah.
Yes.
There's 4 questions and they all start with things that make you happy. The work that makes you happy, the schedule
Okay.
that makes you happy, the environment that makes you happy, and the people that make you happy. There's more, but those are
100%.
my
I
top
love that.
4. And people don't ask themselves that question because they don't believe they deserve it or they don't think they can get it. But we start to change that
Yeah.
whole perspective under the aligned beliefs
Yeah.
pillar right from the get-go. Because 9 times out of 10, that's where people's block. That's what makes people turn.
Yeah.
And so that the second session or section pillar is called taking decisive action. But it doesn't start with what do you do? It
Okay.
actually starts with what contribution are you making and to whom? Right?
Ooh.
So if you actually want to get more of your ideal client, you need to write out their full description. And it's not just all like, they live here, or they make this, or they make that. What do you want them to feel? They are motivated by what? They speak what languages? They come from somewhere. They have children, they don't have children. They have this
Yeah.
philosophy, they have that philosophy. Like, what's their, like, really get into the persona, not because every single person you meet is going to be like that way, but I love science, super geek. The reticular activation system is triggered by
You're in
us
good company.
telling our
Don't
brain
worry.
what's important. Okay, good. I figured. Yeah. So, I'll buy a red car. Suddenly everyone has red cars,
100%.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If this is your ideal client, identify them, tell your brain to look out for them, and now you start to see them. So it's who's your ideal
Absolutely.
client? What's your ideal self? So that if you guys walk in a room, it's love at first sight.
Yeah.
And then we roll it into do your services actually provide what that person needs? So that's the first section of taking decisive action. The second one is called roles,
Yeah.
which is my adore method. So the idea is you do a task audit, which no one loves, but it's really important. All the things that you do for an entire week, and everyone does it for 2 days and then says, oh, good enough. And then we have that conversation again.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, but you do all the stuff and you write down what are the things that are in your unique ability circles. That's from Dan Sullivan. So
Yeah.
the things that you're exceptionally good at. And
Yes.
for
I've been
everything
reading a lot of
else,
Dan lately.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's great.
he
Brilliant
is.
guy. Anyway, but for anything that's not in your unique ability circle,
Yeah,
you adore it, which is automate, delegate, outsource, replace, or eliminate. So it's a really tricky thing because a lot of people fear they hold their work close. What if I give it to someone and they can't do it like me? It's like, well, they won't. But what they're actually afraid of is when they call themselves a control freak, they lack confidence in their leadership. So the
yeah,
whole conversation there is here's how to make sure that as you hand the work off, the work still needs to get done, just not by you. Here's
yeah.
how to make sure that you do it in a way that you feel really, really good about it. So there's all
Amazing.
different like strategies for how you do that that I borrowed from like Dan Martell and Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins and Dan Sullivan. So I kind of weave those in so people have a way forward. It's not just like get rid of it because then no one will if they don't know how. So
And
that goes into it.
I think I was a big Bob Proctor person, and he said
Hmm.
that like there are no new ideas under the sun, and it really comes down to how do we process information? How can we then share it? And
Hmm.
who's going to
Hmm.
resonate with how you share it? Right? So like
Yep.
I find like, and I mean I do this all the time too. I'm quoting people all the time because the more you expose your mind to all these great things, it's going to create
Hmm.
something that
Hmm.
you uniquely can share. I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And my Adore method was I took Dean Graziosi's book that he wrote, Millionaire Success Habits, and it's actually in there, but because I have ADD, I need acronyms to remember stuff.
Yeah.
And so I created the Adore acronym. I'm like, well, that's cool. That works. And I've
Love
been teaching it ever
acronyms.
since. I have lots of productivity strategies, but it's the one that really actually helps people.
Yeah.
Um, so that role piece is the second of taking decisive action. And the last one, we finally get into what do you do to grow your business
Yes.
or what do you do to grow your leadership? Because people come in for different reasons. And I
100%.
actually have a scaling chart that I use for people to actually write down all the different ways they grow or all the skills they want to get better at. And then they rate them based on a series of categories that got from Frank Kern, who is my mentor,
Right.
big marketer out of California. Anyway, so at the end of the day, it becomes blazingly obvious where you should focus your time and effort, where you should
Yes.
create your SOPs and your processes and
Amazing.
all this other stuff. Don't worry about it. Like you can do it, but it's not your growth
Not going to help
strategy.
you.
It's through
Yeah.
your branding or it's support, and you should be getting rid of that
Getting
through your
that
door
perfect
process as
color
soon as
on
humanly
Canva.
possible. Bingo. Skip
No one
it. No one
cares.
cares. No one notices but you. Like literally no one cares. Anyway, but so that's now the whole taking decisive action. And that's those two pillars are the first half of the
Love
program.
it.
The back half of the program are Brendan Burchard's six
Yes.
habits of high performance that have been scientifically linked to higher income, stronger relationships, greater fulfillment, and joy.
Nice.
Happy people do the hard work because
Yes.
most coaching programs stop right there. Go do this. But what also happens is people's actions fall off a cliff.
Yes.
In order to make things consistent and to have things continue to work, over and over into the future, you need to apply the habits of high performance. So the first one is clarity, which is
Yeah.
assigning meaningfulness to your work. When
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, I put time blocks in, but I don't honor them," that's because whatever they put in there doesn't mean anything to them because
Ooh,
they haven't connected
that hits.
the
Yep.
work with the outcome. And so we
Yes.
make that connection. So that really cements what they're doing. And this is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
And you imbue everything that you do with that. The second is energy, and there's four arenas we look at is movement, nutrition, stress,
Yep.
and sleep. And everyone has to make one micro shift in every one of those areas, and
Okay.
then make a commitment to make another micro shift and a micro shift and a micro shift so that you have the energy to do all the wonderful things you want to do.
Nice.
So the third one is courage, which basically takes sessions 1 and 2, which is about how we feel and what we think
Yeah.
and takes it to a mastery level. So I use a
Love
system
that.
called Mind Over Mood, but I also, of course, sprinkle in a few other extra things. There's something called detective thinking where we challenge our thoughts, but
Yep.
it's like a devil's advocate process. And then there's step laddering, which is taking things in small pieces so that we never block ourselves by making a leap too big.
Yeah.
So that's courage. The last three are productivity, which speaks to itself. But what I do is I give people a methodology to take an annual goal and turn it into, but what do I need to do tomorrow? And it allows people to actually achieve annual goals seamlessly. It's based on John Doerr's book, Measure What Matters.
Ooh, I like
So
that.
his OKRs. It's called Objectives and Key Results. It is a dry book, but I'm a super geek when it comes to stats, so I loved it, of course. So the idea is you take an organization, even if you're an army of one, and you
Yeah.
find a way of taking your annual goal, turning it into a series of objectives, assigning monthly key results, and
Yes.
then creating weekly plans according to those. So
Okay.
it's a really, I
Yeah.
call it the art of little chunking, because you just turn everything into small chunks. And
Yeah.
then there's something called CEO blocks, which is a new way of looking at time blocking so that you actually do it because you add meaning and prioritization
Bold.
to the time blocks.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. The last two are influence, which is how do you get people to say yes to you? If you
Yep.
don't understand persuasion and the emotional connection people need to make with you, you are going to get a whole bunch of no.
Right.
So there's the persuasion formula. And then I love Phil M. Jones's book, Exactly What to Say, not the real estate one, the general one.
Ooh.
And I pulled 10 of my favoriteest questions or statements from his book. And there's role playing. So people actually practice them. And that is one class that I've taught for years. And there's the one class in particular where people say they took the class, they went in, they used like one or two of the phrases, came back and said, I made more money.
Nice.
It just happens. They're
Write that
really,
down,
really
guys.
powerful. Yeah. Yeah. Just go get his book. It's really easy to read, big letters. And then the last one, which is the final of the 12, is
Right.
necessity, which is commitment. So if this is not the most soul-bearingly important thing for you, what's it for? Like,
Yeah.
then you're not doing the work that is going
Yeah.
to feed your soul, feed your mind, make you want to get up every day, even if it's a really hard day and you got to do
Yeah.
really hard stuff and go, but it's still worth it. I still want to do it. But
Yeah.
I talk about commitment language. Like, if you say, I want, I wish, I could, I should, I'm going to, I need to. If you ever start a sentence with that and then say something you're going to do, your brain doesn't fire.
Right.
It's asleep. And so it just sits there, sitting on its proverbial brain couch eating proverbial snacks, but it doesn't actually step up. And if you're a Tony Robbins fan, you're going to know there's two words that actually lead to commitment. I am. I'm just, I'm doing it, right? And
Yes.
it's
I am
happening
doing it
now,
now.
or it's happening
100%.
here. Right? If you
Yeah.
can't do it now, then you give it a space and time, and you're like,
This
it's
is the
done
day.
here.
Yeah.
This is the
No
day.
matter
This is
what.
when it gets done, right? Not, I need to
100%.
get it done by tomorrow. You ain't getting it done by tomorrow.
No.
It's gonna be done tomorrow. It's happening here. Oh, your
Yeah.
brain's like, oh, then? Ah, well,
It's
then
done.
allow me to operate.
Yeah.
So that sort of rounds out the 12, and then the 14th session is the what's next. You retake the assessment now that you've gone through it all. You
Yeah.
look at your mountain and you ask yourself, how far up are you? Are you further than you've ever been before? Because
Right.
not everyone finishes, by the time, depending on the type of goal. Some people can
Yeah.
complete it in 100 days, and some people it's an ongoing battle that they have to keep on going. But do you have the tools now? Can you push the boulders out of the way instead of sitting
Yeah.
down and setting up a camp in front of it and staring at it and hoping that it leaves, right?
This sounds amazing.
Um,
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's the program.
Um, this is amazing. Okay. So, Ron, when you heard about this program, obviously you mentioned in like a few minutes ago that you thought it was really cool, but what was it? You've been coaching for a long time. You've been in real estate as a business owner for a long time. What was it about this program that struck you as different than other programs? Because I can tell I can go next, but it's not about me right now. So, what was it that you thought was different when you heard about this program?
Um, as a coach and having, been in coaching sessions and taken coaching, etc., um, they are technique based. If you say this or do this, these are the changing of outcomes, etc. And I find that it is very much like a match. Like you strike it and it takes all of this inertia and you get this flame and you get this bright light until it touches your finger and it starts to hurt and that there's real work.
Yeah.
and you get rid of the match at that point. So there's nothing that actually gives us perpetual light.
Right.
So as myself and the other trainers that were in the cohort who share the same values, they come from industries like real estate, they come from a coaching background. We were sitting there in awe of the fact that we've never been shown or taught these early disciplines that would have made everything else very specific. We would have been
Yeah.
able to say yes with full commitment on a program or on an application, or no, this isn't in my realm. It's not in my sphere. It's not in my world of genius at this point. I love it and best of luck to it. It's just not for me, and not to be talked into it or go with the flow.
Right.
We talk about people that I have an example of a woman who she wanted to get into buying online leads, had never done it, was going to be a very expensive process for her, about $14,000 commitment. And she had no idea what it was supposed to do. Like she would hope that it would generate something at this point, but she didn't know. And then I said, well, you've got 13 deals on here. Six look like they come from one source. What's that source? She says, oh, that's my backyard barbecue. Once a year in July, I do a barbecue with my husband, and we kind of come up with hot dogs and hamburgers for past clients, friends, prospects, that kind of idea. I said, so that represented six deals. I said, your average deal is like $13,000 a file, and you did six of them. How much was the barbecue? She's like, $1,000. I'm like, I think you need to have another barbecue.
100%. Yeah.
Again, so once you can help people kind of realize they really have some tracks where they make a difference,
Yeah.
well, what do we need to do to stay there? Like you were only doing the online leads because everybody in your office said you should.
Yeah.
Well, what if you didn't have to kind of follow the crowd? What if you
Yeah.
just kind of climbed your mountain? So, what I really love about this, and as a facilitator to the program, this is the cool part. I'm on the easy end of the fridge coming up the stairs.
Yeah.
You listen to Rebecca here at this point, kind of go, oh man, I want to take it from her. You're in luck because she shares the stage with me on each of these sessions.
Love it.
Rebecca is all the way through this with this intelligence, with this the concepts, the ideas, setting the stage for the work we're going to do together. As a facilitator, I take you through the paperwork to help you build this GPS to get to the summit.
Love it. Amazing, amazing. Okay, so much. So I what I love is that this is kind of like it feels to me like not only have you taken your own love for science and performance as a performance coach, but you've really taken like the greatest hits of things that you already resonated with. But also like I will say I don't think I'm that much of an outlier. Ron might disagree. I'm a unique bear, but I love learning. And so like a lot of the people that you mentioned, the fact that you can take one program and learn these things, which really like if we look at efficiency, you could go and read the books and try to figure out like what's the best
Mhm.
thing. And you could kind of do it alone and then try and analyze your business. Absolutely you could. And you'd probably save 14 weeks and whatever it costs, but you wouldn't get the results. It would cost you way more in time. Time is money as an entrepreneur. And you wouldn't have the benefit. Like Tony Robbins talks about that. Like, why are you reinventing the wheel? Like, why don't you take a page from people that have put the time in, sit down, you guys, and not only, I love that you have the survey to help people really dig in. Like, that's
Mhm.
fantastic. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Okay. So, next question is, so how many, like, so someone signs up. Number one, I guess, how do they sign up? And how many people are in a class? So either one of you can take that.
So sure. I'll start off with that one and then I'll let Ron fill in any of my blanks. Uh, the way the course is run, so I don't actually teach it. I have pre-recorded every all the videos in every session
Love it.
so that certified trainers, so I certify my trainers like Ron to be able to facilitate and guide people through the program. So that way he doesn't have to learn it. Like when I got certified as a high performance trainer, coach through Brendan Burchard, I had to learn the methodology. I had to understand the background, all of the research, come up with the questions, and do all of that stuff.
Yes.
I didn't want that. I wanted it to be delivered in the exact same way every single time. And
Okay.
so every session is comprised of actually short videos and then work and or discussion because I have ADD and I don't have an attention span. So I'm not listening to an hour long of a video and then, oh my God, I have to try to remember what the heck the first part of the video was nope. So it's like short video, work facilitation. And this is where Ron brings his magic because the program is not specific to any industry. So I'm taking this to car dealerships,
Yep.
the largest financial dealership in Canada, Industrial Alliance, they're looking at it. I'm trying to take it to large organizations like the phone companies, TELUS,
Yep.
all those kinds of organizations. Anybody with sales training, obviously real estate,
Rebecca,
but associations
can I just
that
cut you
should.
off for one
Yes.
second? I just want to point out, so any
Yeah.
realtors listening, especially newer realtors, it's very important that you remember, yes, you're a real estate salesperson, but your business is that you are a business owner.
Mhm.
Unless you are in a very specific situation where you're probably not listening to this podcast, you're not even paid by your brokerage, right? So you are a small business owner who is registered with a brokerage. This means if a training is for business people, business leaders, this is for you. You don't need someone to come in and be specialized just for real estate agents because I think I can speak for all the training I've taken for real estate agents. Um, like you can learn that separately. This is like you're running a business. And so just in case anyone's listening and like, oh, it's not for realtors, I would say any bit like it's not for real estate, but realtors are business owners. And I think it's important that the faster you can get out of thinking an employee and I'm a business owner, the faster that path to success.
Well said.
100%, absolutely. Because we're all running our own businesses here, and that
Yeah.
I mean, real estate is the industry I've been teaching for 16 years,
Nice.
and so I built it for realtors, but I made it applicable beyond real estate, because
Absolutely.
I believe there's so many people who suffer with this problem of I
Yes.
know what I need to do, but I'm not getting it done. Why?
Yep.
I don't know. And then, so what they normally do is they throw more how-to stuff at themselves, which actually makes it worse because now you got more stuff that you're
Yep.
not doing. And the guilt death spiral and the shame just gets worse and worse and worse. So you go do laundry or you reorganize your desk again or whatever, but you're not actually getting to the
Yep.
actual work. So to just come full circle on the program, so it's led by facilitators,
Yes.
taught by me,
Wonderful.
weekly sessions between an hour and a half to 2 hours long, depending on the discussions. And that's kind of how it rolls. In terms of the number of people, there is actually no limit. You can have a cohort of five. 10 is an ideal minimum because just enough for conversation.
Of
But
course.
it can be even some people like to make it really intimate and they want to keep it at five, but it could also be like 100. The largest cohort we have right now is just under 40. And the way that that's just
Nice.
managed is with small group breakouts. So
Yep.
it's everybody in a room, either virtually or in person. You can do both. So you watch the video as a group. And then when it comes to the work, especially at a big group, it could be a small, like large group discussion where everybody
Nice.
has some quiet time, does the work. Breakouts in groups of three, chitty chitty chat chat, everybody in, we move to the next one. So it really keeps things moving, which is important if you're delivering something virtually. I've done virtual stuff for years, and it is really hard to keep people's attention. So because the program is always shifting,
Yes.
video, work discussion, it's hard to get distracted.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
when you're engaged, then you retain more. And the other nice thing about it is because you're doing work during the session, there's no homework. It's just application.
Yes.
So
Perfect.
everything you need to get done is there.
In
There
that
is
session.
pre-work in a couple of them, like take your assessment, and then there's the
Yeah.
task audit, which I know everybody hates, but everybody needs to do. So there's a little bit of that, or there's a 1.5 minute video to prime you for the next session, which you can
Yeah.
honestly watch right beforehand. But it's also when you sign up, so Ron will have his own registration page, and when you
Wonderful.
sign up, you get immediate access to the back end system, which you can start taking your like watching the first video. They drip out once a week. So
Okay.
according to the schedule that Ron would have set. So if his program starts June 11, you'll get session one opened up to you as a participant on June 11. And then session two will open up on June 18. And then sort of like drips out there. So you can't move ahead.
Good.
But you can also send direct messages to each other. There's a discussion board. There's lots of support in there during so that
Nice.
everyone can kind of come together as a community. And then Ron can kind of manage everybody in one place and try to instead of battling people's inboxes.
Fantastic. No,
And yeah,
that is
and it
really
just rolls.
good. And so someone signs up, and what we'll do is I will get Ron to send me the link. We can say it now if you want to say it, but I will put it in underneath the show notes. Do you have a page yet set up?
I do. It's a bit.ly link that I'll send to you, Krystal.
Perfect.
So it is a little bit extended that way. But what I love about that link is it not just register here, put your credit card
Yeah,
information in. There's a lot of information about the course. There's lots of
perfect.
places to really anchor that this is the right decision for you and why. And
Perfect.
it answers a
Mhm.
lot of, the big five questions people have, like, why should I do this? Why is it effective, et cetera, et cetera. So I love my link because it gives you the reasons to say yes.
Amazing. Amazing.
Mhm.
Now, we don't know when people will listen to this. So they're going to listen now. They might listen in 6 months. They might listen in 2 years as well. Because I think Spotify just lasts forever. We're on YouTube as well. So I won't ask you specifics about price, but would you say it's affordable?
Go ahead, Rebecca. And why?
Yeah.
And yes, okay. So my coaching programs because my it's called PMC, which is a acronym for Profitable Millionaires Club. It's $18,000 a year. So I have great clients in there doing absolutely amazing things. But what I found, because I speak on stages and have for 16 years, particularly over the past 6 years when I've been doing high performance coaching, I would speak and I would see people react and I need this and I want this. And then I would tell them how much my coaching is, and then off they go
Yeah.
because they either can but don't want to or can't or whatever. And so the reason 100 Days to Peak Performance exists is because I wanted, if possible, if I speak to 500 people and 500 people say, I want this training,
Yeah.
I want this to come in at a price that everybody can do it.
Amazing.
So trainers do set the price. And so instead of $18,000 a year for the 100 days program, Ron, what are you charging?
$300 for the 14 weeks, for all 14-week sessions for $300.
That's
Plus
amazing.
HST,
That's it. Plus
and
HST.
in the currency of your country. So if you're Canadian, it's Canadian. If you're American,
Mhm.
it's
That's
$300 American.
amazing. Okay, so
Yeah.
that I know
Yeah.
we said we weren't going to say. So right now in June 2025, if you sign up, it's $300 for the whole thing. And I would say that's insanely good. I've done a lot of training programs and especially for the value. Um, Now, when is the next one starting?
So I have a class that starts. It's our summer camp session.
Okay.
Starts June the 11th and runs till September the 10th, and
Why
that's
is it called summer camp?
Wednesday from noon till 1:30.
Okay.
I'm also connected with other facilitators in our program. So if the date doesn't work, one of my colleagues has one starting on June the 23rd. It's a Monday. It's a different time. I think it's a 10 to 12 for her session. And that. So if we have somebody that has an interest, right, as much as I'd love for you to be part of my program, I'd love you to be taking this program however we can kind of deliver it to you.
Wonderful. That's awesome. I like that it's
I
called the
have
summer camp.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot of actually summer camps happening. The nice thing about my program is 4 times a year I certify trainers to be
Nice.
able to teach this. So a real estate broker or trainer can become certified and then they can use it within their brokerage for like for retention
That's
or for
awesome.
recruiting. So that's an option. Or
Yeah.
you can hire people like Ron. So say you have a brokerage, you're like, I just don't have a time. I have a client of mine in Virginia or West Virginia. I can't remember which Virginia, one of the Virginias. And while he would love to be able to get certified, he's state president this year, and that ain't gonna happen. So I'm going to, look to coaches like Ron, and I'm like, okay, I need you to run. He wants two cohorts. He's doing a top producer cohort and a newbie cohort. So
Nice.
we're going to be running two at the same time for one brokerage. So he owns five different locations in Kentucky and one of the Virginias. I'll just say Virginia because I can't remember which one it is. I think it's West Virginia. So what'll happen is if there's any organization that wants to offer this but doesn't want someone internally to be certified,
Right.
you can still bring it in. We do set the price for that. So that's one of the downsides of not being the one to become certified, because when
Right.
you become certified, you get to set your own price, because some people are adding one-on-one coaching to it or
Right.
accountability. So the value of that coaching is the
Will
program
change.
plus.
Yeah.
So some people are actually building entire coaching businesses around this program. They're just adding one-on-one and charging
Yeah.
like $1,000 a month. So it's a lot of flexibility. It works for organizations that want someone internal so they can use it as a competitive advantage. It
Right.
works for people that want the education but not have to worry, well, what if I get this person certified and then they leave? So they have safety there. They let just fewer flexibility options, but also for coaches that really, really love to help people, but they don't have their own methodology. And they're
Right.
looking for something to kind of wrap their business around, because this is non-specific to industry, but
Yeah.
it allows for a lot of additional value to be added in. Some
Fantastic.
coaches are coming in and they're actually creating freedom for themselves. I've got a couple in Florida. The purpose of becoming certified, both of them are getting certified,
Yeah.
is so that they can leave where they're living now and they can go to Mexico and
Yeah.
they can be truly free and do this from wherever. So it's really opening doors. One person I'm really hoping gets certified wants to target people coming out of recovery. So people who want to
Wow.
stay clean, they
Yes.
want a place to live.
100%. I
Their
love
mountains
this.
are just a different kind of mountain.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, wow.
it brings me so much. Like, I feel so humbled that someone like that would be like, I can use this for them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
That's contribution.
please get
Wow.
certified,
Yes.
right? Because she's been through the ringer
Yeah.
and can bring that perspective in. So the
100%.
program offers a tremendous amount of flexibility with a really solid foundation that can
Yeah.
help people achieve whatever it is they want to achieve.
Now, for anyone who is thinking about certification, how does that process work? You said you do it 4 times a year. How long does it take, and what is the approximate cost?
So the certification happens over 3 non-consecutive days.
Okay.
And I do that because 3 days in a row would melt everyone's head, and it's really hard to retain information.
Yeah.
So I bring my performance coaching into my performance coaching.
Love it.
So it's 3 days. So they are right now. So I've done one. I did one in April, and then
Okay.
I've got June and September and November. So those are
Perfect.
the three remaining opportunities. Um, and there will be four every year. So
Nice.
every year I will be coming up with a new set of dates that people can sign up for. It costs $1,500
Okay.
in whatever country currency in which you reside. So if you're
I
American,
love
it's
that.
American, Canadian, it's
That's a
Canadian.
fantastic
There's
feature.
no purchasing power in Canada that we have like that much more money to pay US dollars. Plus, I didn't like it when I had to pay
We
in a different
appreciate that.
currency. It doesn't make sense. So a little bit more work on my side, but I don't care because this is the right way to do things. So it's
Nice.
$1,500. That covers all 3 days of certification. And so the work prior to the certification days is you get immediate access to all 14 sessions and you have to review them.
Okay.
So as a trainer, you also get a trainer guide. It's 150 pages and it's literally open the door, greet everyone and say this, key up the program with this.
I like
Now
that.
play this video for this many minutes, then ask these questions, then do this in the workbook, and then do that. Literally, it's like step by step by step by step.
Which is
And
helpful.
of
It's
course,
like
there's
you
the
have the
workbook.
same, you're guaranteeing the same experience for everyone, right? Yeah.
As much as I possibly can. Now, again, I guarantee the content because it's me talking from a video screen.
Yeah.
And then so there's subtitles for those who have hard of hearing. There's a transcript for those who need to follow along that has slower
Lot of
processing
everything.
speeds. Really tried.
I love this.
The the team that built this built the learning management system for Wells Fargo.
Nice.
So this is a proprietary system. It's not built on systems like Kajabi or Thinkific. I own it. It's mine because I needed that ultimate control and the flexibility. I'm coming up with an app. There's a board game in the works. There's lots of different
A
things that we're
board
adding to
game.
this.
Okay. You have outgeeked
Yeah.
me and I'm all in. I'm in. I'm all over it. This is
Yeah, so it's
exciting.
really great. So the 3 days, so the intent is everyone has watched and understood the
Yeah.
content before they show up. There's a quiz, a content quiz that people have to pass. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to make people fail. I'm just making sure they get the important stuff. The 3 days are all about room management, questions, objections, personality management, marketing, sales, filling a room, and all the kind of dynamics that people
Nice.
would come up against in order to successfully launch into here. So I provide people with a commercial that I shot. I have slides for a presentation. I record the presentation. I'm doing that this week, but then I give the slides to my trainers. If you
Nice.
want to deliver the same presentation, that's what I said.
Love it.
Go say your own version of that.
Yeah.
They can key mine up or they can actually do their own.
That's
So there's a
awesome.
lot of support that goes with it. We have a support is the support team currently is Dave. Love Dave, retired real estate agent with the kindest, gentlest nature you have ever seen, but
Nice.
also someone who's not afraid to challenge. There's weekly role playing calls so that you can practice before you go into a
You.
session.
Yeah.
And then there's a monthly call with me where I talk about pricing strategies, marketing
Yeah.
strategies, new things coming down the pipe, and support all around. And of course, there's 24-hour system where people can send me direct messages. There's a messaging board supporting all of my trainers as the community grows. So then once you're certified, it's just $200 a month to stay current. And that pays
Nice.
for the system, the support, the calls, additional, literally anything I can throw at people so that they can
Yeah.
be more successful at achieving this. Also, when you become a certified trainer, you go into my pool so that when other organizations say, hey, I want the course, I don't want to get certified, I
Nice.
go into the pool and it's
And there
round
you go.
robin. So I give
Now,
people sort of whoever's turn it is the opportunity to teach.
now it would make sense to me. I don't know if this, I'll throw this to you guys. Would you say if someone's listening and they want to be certified, is it better to
Mhm.
do the program first so you understand, like you've gone through it, or do you think people can just jump into the certification?
So far, everyone has just jumped in.
Okay.
And some people have had great ease with it. They're just like, they just
Yeah,
like went with it.
go for it.
Others, because they haven't done the program before, they're starting off with small cohorts. So
Right.
they're launching, but they're doing maybe a small group
They're
to
learning as they
start, just to
go.
kind of work
Yeah,
it through and get really comfortable with it for a big launch in the fall.
for
And
sure.
that's kind of what a lot of people are doing summer school for. This program is only a month old. That's it. It's
Nice.
only a one
It's
month that it's
exciting.
been rolling.
Like you're probably gonna
It
have a sign up
really
from day one.
is.
So it sounds well, it sounds
I
honestly,
hope so.
even just to be able to tell people about it, I think it's very cool. And I love the idea that, yeah, I love everything you guys have said. I can't believe it's almost we're almost at time, guys. Okay. So if I can ask Ron a takeaway. So if someone's listening today, what is something that you are teaching or you have t taught something, an important piece that they can take with them to kind of make a decision about their business?
This is a good question. When I pivoted to my own shingle as a coach, I started and worked very hard on a YouTube channel and one that's still private to this day. And I wanted to kind of come out and, get clients who really wanted to improve their business because I think I
Yeah,
can help. But I went into the series kind of looking at the fact that everybody's like, hey, if you need 1 million closings today, we guarantee. And it was cheesy after cheesy after cheesy. And Dave, who is our rudder behind the support system, was my YouTube coach. And I said, Dave, but it really sounds schlocky and salesy, and everybody's got the same, grifting type of mentality and script. And then when this opportunity came up, I'm like, this is what I was looking for. I want to
authentic.
help first. I want to create value And
Yes.
then if you decide after a program like this that we spent 14 weeks together, that maybe perhaps I could help you on your business as well as a
Yes.
standalone one-on-one coaching situation, that opportunity becomes organic. And
Ex-
it's based on trust, it's based on value, it's based on rapport. You know me, I know you, I've got to know you over these weeks
Yes.
at this point. And do you want to make a decision? And we've already talked when we did our interview about mine's a really really simple process, $150 an hour plus HST, and there's no contract
Yeah.
for me, right? If I'm helping you and we're years into the coaching side, great. If we're a couple of weeks, great.
Yeah.
Like I'm not tied to the outcome of the contract. I'm tied to I don't want to be right. I want you to be rich. So if we can do that with this
Put that on a
program,
t-shirt. I love that. Very cool.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Well,
And we're going to put the link to sign up for your training below. And Rebecca, if there's a
Yes.
takeaway that you could leave people with as far as their journey to growth or even their mountain, what would you say is something?
So, what I'd love for people to know and eventually to believe is that no matter how stuck or how trapped you feel right now, you actually have a choice. I grew up in a cult and I left it after rolling my car in the QEW, nearly dying in 2008, hanging upside down and asking myself, what am I doing? Because they told me that if you even thought about leaving, there's two ways you're going to die, cancer or a car crash. And I'm clearly still alive. From that moment on, I blew up my life in spectacular fashion. So I left the church. I got a divorce. I lost my job, right? And I was
We'll
in a
be
world I didn't even know how to
rebooking
buy moving
another
tickets.
another interview to get
Sure.
into that
oh, that's a
story.
great story.
It's it's an interesting one. It's a unique one, but
Wow.
I say that everything I do today is because 6 years ago, which was 10 years post my accident, I'd rebuilt my life. I had my $1 million agency, like Ron
Yeah.
talked about, upgrade husband, kids, house, car, everything was great, but
Yeah.
I was miserable in here.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be in there anymore because I was you self-sabotaging, right? All these different areas. I was
Yeah.
doing that good enough. Oh, it's enough, it's enough, it's enough. But it was never really enough. But I didn't know how to make it work. So if anyone feels that they have lost their mojo, that they're waiting for motivation,
Yeah.
that there's something that you always wanted, but you never had the steps to climb, but you most importantly, you never knew what was in your way in the first place. There's this invisible barrier that you kept coming up against. You don't know what it is. If
Yeah.
you really want to discover what that is, look it in the eye and then collapse that wall and push it to the side and never have
Yes.
it rebuilt again. I want you to ask yourself this question on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you want it? And if it's 9 or 10, I implore you,
Let's
sign
go.
up for Ron. And if it's really important to you, sign up to get certified. And I'll send you the link
Yes, please.
so that
Well,
people can do
so
that.
guys, thank you so much, Ron and Rebecca, for joining us today. This has been so amazing. Everyone listening, if you have a chance, take a peek at the links. Definitely, I encourage you to sign up. Whether you've listened to this today and your heart tells you you would like to try this training, whether maybe you want to give back. I've been a facilitator for a lot of programs. It is very rewarding. But it really, whatever your heart is telling you, I definitely recommend that. There's a lot of book recommendations that were in here. So if you want to start slow, read a book and then realize that it'll be way easier just to take this amazing training. Take the
It
training.
is.
Ron and Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, I'm Krystal Lee Lucier. This has been so amazing. This is Realtor Life, your home sweet home 519 Realtor, Krystal Lee Moore, and we cannot wait to see you next time.